Felt that I was falling into the trap of micromanagement again. Worried, is this getting done? I'm worried if that's getting done. Can you fill out this spreadsheet so I'm aware of what's going on? And what does that say to my team? You know, I've flown the flag to, anti-micromanagement, all about autonomy, down to you guys, you run the job how you want. Then straight away, the first time that they get the opportunity to show me what they can do, I've then started micromanaging them. Have you ever been micromanaged? And if you say no, I think maybe you don't understand what micromanagement is, because it is a disease that's in every single business out there. And what I mean by micromanagement is that you could feel so restricted by making a decision because you're worried about what your boss may say, do. They dictate what happens. They're constantly looking over your shoulder. They're questioning every decision that you make. And then that restricts your decision-making skills. That's micromanagement. And I fell down the trap. And that's what I want to bring to you guys today, that honestly, authentically, everything that I've talked about in the previous episodes, everything that I've dictated and stated that I want to do with my new business, I failed. And I felt that I was falling into the trap of micromanagement again. Being an operations manager for my previous company, and then having some of that team join me here, I felt naturally into that position of worrying about what they're doing, concerning myself about things, openly saying that I'm worried, is this getting done? I'm worried if that's getting done. Can you fill out this spreadsheet so I'm aware of what's going on? Everything that I said that I wouldn't do, I was doing. And what does that say to my team? You know, I've flown the flag to, anti-micromanagement, all about autonomy, down to you guys, you run the job how you want. Then straight away, the first time that they get the opportunity to show me what they can do, I've then started micromanaging them and showing my concerns, showing why it shows that I'm not trusting them, is the crux, and that's not right. So what I need to do and what I have done is A, apologised, B, reflected. So I've now worked out that my position, what I should be doing, is I need to be going what? I need to be understanding or stating what are the needs of the business. What do I need you guys to do? And then they worry about the how. And they'll deliver it. That's down to them. I trust these guys can do that. I need to just let them be, let them do. If I worry about the how as well as the what, then I really don't have the time to worry about the what. And the what could be is that what we need to do to build a bigger business, get more clients in. Instead, I'm worrying about how to deliver this, how to do this, how to do that. That's why I've got the team. So I've had to take a step back, reflect, learn, and catch myself. And I'm going to do it. And I have had an honest conversation with the guys. What I need to do is I need to give the guys freedom to have freedom of thought and freedom to act how they see fit, and let them just fly, blossom, grow, be what they can truly be. If I turn around and put restraints on them, I'm stopping them from being the best version of themselves. I've said countless amount of times, and again, I've fallen down that trap. The reason why we are so good here is because I've allowed us I've had, my co-directors have allowed me freedom just to come up with ideas, try new things out, try and work out what's the norm and try and break the norm and do something different. And this is what I need my guys to do. I don't know how good they can truly be. I've got an inkling, that's why we've got them here. But they could be amazing. They could take this business tenfold bigger if I just allow them just to do what they need to do and have the freedom of thought. The second one that I want to talk about is boundaries. So have you ever had a situation where you've set a boundary? So someone's asked you, or you've turned around and said, "Look, I don't accept phone calls after a certain amount of time." And then someone rings you up and you pick them up, or even worse, you send emails out at a certain time. The message that gives out to people is that although you stated, I don't take emails at weekends, I don't take phone calls, I don't do this, that is your boundaries, you've broken them. And then people start looking at you slightly different, because you was like, well, hold on, you had a boundary, and this was a point that you would never cross, and you've crossed it. As a business, I've been looking at this recently, is that we need to be at the stage that we're setting boundaries as a business, and this is the same for as managers would as well. We are striving to be the ones that everyone turns to for compliancy. So we've spent a lot of time recently just understanding what compliancy means within fire within schools. So we've gone down the statutory order 2005, and honestly 6 months ago I didn't even really understand what that is. I've now learned and we've progressed. And what I've said is that, we don't cut corners, and we won't go against what the compliance and what the regulations state. That's our boundary. And what I say, similar to your personal boundaries, is that I guarantee if we turn around and say, no, we're not happy with taking on that work because it's going against our beliefs as a company, same as your beliefs as an individual, we'll lose that job, or you'll lose someone's potential acknowledgement of your abilities. But what happened is that we will get 2 more jobs out the back of that, because our boundaries have been set, and we'll be known as that company that doesn't won't break their boundaries, their principles. And you could be the same. Although you've stuck to your guns on that, you go, no, that's pushing it, I will not cross that boundary. You'll gain respect for that. So initially you may not, and people may frown upon it, go, oh God, Dave's been a bit funny about that. But they'll understand that, and they'll come back to you because they'll have something else, and they know that you're a man or woman of honour, and this is your boundary you will not cross. It's really important to understand where your boundaries are, and assess them and keep them. You could probably, as you grow older, you may change them as you go, but they are really important, and they will be you will be respected for having that in your locker at a later date. I never set out boundaries when I was learning on my I was too happy to make everybody happy. And I think I probably went over and above, and I think I probably got exploited a lot as well, because, I would, if anyone wanted me to do something, I'd do it. I wanted to please people, and I'd work stupid hours, and I'd work weekends and everything like that. And then when I met my wife-to-be, she was like, why are you working weekends? That's not normal. You don't need to work weekends. So I set a boundary. If push come to shove, I would work weekends if I really, really, really had to. So you can put stipulations within your boundaries. It's not a cold cut. You can move it slightly if need be and sees fit. But that was it. And I didn't realise I could say no. And I actually went, oh. And since that point, I think probably I've worked one weekend in 18 years. So you can say no. And that feeling of actually saying no was quite a difficult thing for me to say at the time. But I was encouraged by my partner, and I'd done it, I said it, and actually the reaction was pretty good. It was what it was. That is, I don't do weekends. Done. The last one is questioning the norm. I think this is probably a potential tip for showing yourself up to being really good at something, or if there's a lot of managers within your organization, it potentially could show you going over and above, being a bit better than everybody else. And what I mean by question the norm is you've actually got to turn around, and if there's something that isn't quite right, question it and try and find a resolution for it. My example was that when we worked at these, when we go to schools, we find that the school's fire risk assessment wasn't good enough. And what it is under law is that under the statutory order 2005 Fire Safety Act, schools need to have a sufficient, I can't remember what the word is now, apologies, I'm not great at remembering things, fire risk assessment. And what I was finding is that we were going to, and I could see that the fire risk assessments weren't great. They're spending the money on them, but it's the responsible person at the school has to take responsibility for that fire risk assessment to be adequate, and they wasn't. But I couldn't find a clear definitive as why that wasn't. So if someone asked me a question, is it good? I say no. Why isn't it good? I can't tell you. So I spent a weekend going through the documents that a school would do to try and find out what would be a good fire risk assessment for them. One of them was 147 pages of a government document for education premises fire risk assessments. I didn't get to 147, I got to 50, and that was literally enough and all I could do. And then I ended up going down, I'm trying to understand what a responsible person was. And they're the people that hold the responsibility at the school. And there was another document given out by the government. We'll try to read through that, again, overwhelming. And then there's a PAS 79-1 document, which is about fire risk assessments. It's a notes on how to look at them. To get that document, I would have had to pay £175. I wasn't going to do that. All of it was just like, I still don't know. I've spent time how a school would do it. I've spent time looking at it, trying to work out where the problem may lie, and I couldn't find it. So I called up a fire risk assessment company. I turned around, pretended to be a school, and said, look, I'm trying to get a fire risk assessment. Can you tell me what accreditation your guys have for doing fire risk assessments? It's down to you. They responded it's down to the school. What qualifications do you need? I mean, is the school truly going to know? They need advice. And then what made it even worse, they turned around and said, well, to be honest, it's down to what borough of the country you are in dictates what qualifications the FRA assessor has. That's not true. So it's just a massive confusion. And I then, with that knowledge or some sort of knowledge, I then went out to LinkedIn. I then started discussing with people that are out there about what is a good fire risk assessment, what's bad. I got hold of a brilliant fire risk assessor, one of the leaders in the country. Spoke to him authentically and just said, look, I'm trying to help schools. There's a problem. I'm trying to find out a resolution of why they're spending the money on stuff that doesn't work. He was a brilliant guy. He turned around and said, look, I understand the problem, and I understand that we need to do a simple document that every school could read and actually understand what their roles and responsibilities. And it wasn't written by ChatGPT, because ChatGPT, as we know, would just give a generic load of crap that doesn't really make much sense. This was written by one of the highest professionals in the industry, in the country, wrote this simple document, which is amazing, that anybody could pick up and understand what the policy should be within a school, what is a good fire risk assessment, who is a responsible person. All of these things, absolutely brilliant. With his permission, I was allowed to put the company logo on top of the document, and with his as well, in association with, and I sent it out to the main client that deals with all the schools. They looked at the document. The accolades that we got for spending the time to get that document done was amazing. We are trying to push ourselves for that compliancy expertise. That was then now been sent out to all the schools. So with a little, what I'm trying to get to you guys is that basically with questioning a problem that's in your company or surrounding businesses, or something to do with a particular item, a light that doesn't work, or whatever it may be, take a breath, step back, try and put your shoes into for me it was go in the shoes of the school and understand where the problem is with what they've got, and then go and talk to people on LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn is an amazing place to find people that genuinely do care. Find a resolution to the problem that you've got, and then turn around and compile it, and then go and give that to your boss. And just say, look, I found a problem. I found a resolution for it. Take it as you will. It's you know, I've done this in my own free time, but I think this could resolve the problem. Wow, what a person that if that was me and one of my team just gave me this document, you know, I don't need to buy into it. I could read it and give them constructive, you know, criticism of reasons why I don't think it would work, or, you know, just give them some good feedback. But I'll be thinking, well, that is a sharp person there, and yeah, they're going to go a long way, you know. And that is just finding a problem, then going out and finding the resolution for that problem. Don't make a big deal about it. Just do it in your own time, and then you will succeed. And I absolutely promise that. So, just to recap, micromanagement. With that micromanagement, just be aware that you might be getting micromanaged yourself. So if you're brave enough, and I would say that you should be able to, or try, or give it a go, tell your boss they need to worry about the what. Let me worry about the how. And they might be actually a little bit relieved to know that you're taking on some of that responsibility off their shoulders. Or you could have the team below you and you're micromanaging them. So remember, you know, you don't need to deal with the reads. You need to deal with what you need to deal with. Let them deal with what they need to deal with. Have a grown-up conversation about it, you know, and work out the roles and responsibilities and get their input in on there as well. Boundaries, really important, I think, because again, I didn't have boundaries when I started off my career, and I think it would have benefited me in the long run, you know. And actually, a lot of the reasons why you don't have boundaries because it might be a potential fear, because you don't want to set boundaries and put yourself in a particular box, or even just have that conversation. But have a think, take a step back. You know, what is important to you, and make that boundary, because you will get a lot more respect for that. I promise you, as long as it's a decent boundary that shows you in a good light. I think that's a really good way to go about it. And then finally, what we said about, you know, questioning the norm. You know, why are we doing it this way? Take a step back, reflect on it, try and find the resolution. And, you know, that could be that you spend a weekend reading up on documents and going through this. Go on LinkedIn, find out who else has this problem, because there is always the answer out there. You just need to find it. But do it, and don't make a big deal that you're going to go and do. I'm going to go and find this resolution. Don't do that. Do it in your own way. Just go away, go and do it. Find the resolution, put it in a document, throw through ChatGPT. We know ChatGPT is a brilliant object to use for you, but only use it as a spot check. Don't use it to find your information out, because it could be wrong. Go and talk to people, build relationships with people on LinkedIn, and I don't think you'll go wrong. All right, perfect. Right, see you guys later.